Hi everyone, and welcome to my channel. Today I'm in my kitchen and I will be sharing with you how I decorated above my kitchen cupboards and also a shelf on the end of one of my cupboards. I will be decorating in a very warm and rustic Tuscan style. And if you enjoy French country and cottagecore, I hope that this will also appeal to your decorating taste. If you like this style of content, I hope you will subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to ring the bell so you'll always be sure to be notified whenever I post a new video. If you enjoy my video, I'd appreciate it if you would leave me a thumbs up because that does help my channel to grow. Now let's begin. I purchased this beautiful picture at the Goodwill, and it was my inspiration for how I wanted to decorate above my cupboards. To the right of my picture, I added a beautiful primitive candle holder and candle, just like the one that I used when I decorated my dry sink. And if you missed that video, I will link it below in my description box. Next, I added this green basket that I purchased at Goodwill, and inside I added this beautiful primitive tin filled with pit berries that my mother bought me a very long time ago. I think the contrasting colors and textures are beautiful. To the left of my picture, I started by adding this beautiful rooster that I bought last year at Hobby Lobby. If you are a familiar friend to my channel, then you already know that I have a fondness for roosters. Beside my rooster, I added a few of my wicker baskets and just filled them with some of my favorite greenery picks that I bought at Michael's. Next, I added a very old iron that my mom gave me, and it belonged to my grandmother. A few old books work perfectly as a riser. And beside my iron, I added this beautiful lantern that I also bought at Goodwill. Here's the finished look of my first cupboard. I have two more cupboards now that I'd like to share with you, and also the end cap of this cupboard. The bowl with the poppies that is sitting on the shelf was also purchased at Goodwill. A large majority of the decorating pieces that I use throughout my home are pieces that I've purchased at Goodwills and thrift stores. This is my corner shelf, and I'll start at the top. I started by adding this very old blue Atlas jar and my wooden mortar and pestle. My jar belonged to my mother, and my mortar and pestle I purchased at TJ Maxx. I placed some cinnamon sticks inside my jar. I don't know a lot about jars or really how to tell their age, but I do like the blue of this jar and also the metal lid. For my next shelf, I added this very sweet picture that my brother gave me. And for my bottom shelf, I added my Longaberger recipe box that I've had for a very long time. My recipe box does have the cloth liner, also the wooden lid, and recipe charm on the front. Now I'll share how I decorated my next set of cupboards. I started by adding this Napa Valley wine sign that I also bought at Goodwill. I love the rusticness of this sign with the old wooden boards and the letters that look like they have a rusty appearance. I also love the size of this sign. To the left of my sign, I added this wine bottle holder, also purchased at Goodwill, and I just placed a few empty bottles inside. The wicker on this holder ties in perfectly with my wicker baskets that I used on my previous cupboard. Next, I added a lantern also purchased at Goodwill, and back in behind my lantern, I tucked a grapevine wreath. And what I did for my grapevine wreath is I took a pitberry garland and wrapped it around my grapevine wreath, just to give it a little bit more color and texture. I placed this beautiful vintage wine bottle beside my lantern. And yes, this was also purchased at Goodwill. I also have a few other vintage wine bottles that I'll be sharing with you in a later video. I added this beautiful burnt orange colored bowl that I bought at Goodwill, and inside I filled it with lots of willow balls that my sister-in-law picked up for me at a yard sale. And here is a completed look of how it looks above this cupboard. When decorating above my cupboards, since I have 3 separate areas, I like to make sure that all of the pieces that I choose blend together perfectly. And I also want them to tie in with the rest of the pieces that I'm using to decorate my dining room and kitchen. Now for my next cupboard, I started by adding this beautiful rooster, also purchased at Hobby Lobby. And in behind my rooster, I placed this beautiful basket of faux grapes and grapevine that I also purchased at Goodwill. Many of my faux grapevine greenery that I use were purchased at Goodwill. Moving along, I started by adding this wooden wine box that I bought at Goodwill. And on top of my wine box, I placed a candle stand. And to the top of the candle stand, I added these wooden thread spools that I bought last winter at TJ Maxx. And I just love these. I used them at Christmas, and I just think they are so perfect and rustic. Next, I added a wicker tray, and in front of my wicker tray, I added 2 of my old Crocs. The one larger one my mom gave to me, and the smaller one I purchased at a festival. I also added some more pitberry garland to add some more charm and to tie in with the pitberry garland that I used on my previous cupboard. And here is a completed look of this cupboard. I am so happy with how my cupboards turned out. Thanks for watching. See you next time.